So let's get started. So what are stocks? So think of stock as a company as a piece, as a big pie, right? And you own a piece of the pie. So basically you have some ownership of that corporation, right? So if McDonald's, when McDonald's became public, investors were able to invest in it, right? Now I have access to that stock and I'm a shareholder, right? So this, again, you're just claiming some ownership of the company, even if it's just a small portion, but you are part of that. And as a shareholder, you also have a say in the company, right? Maybe what typically happens is a company would appoint a board of directors. So you have an actual representative, right? Just like you have in a government, you have representatives that speak on your behalf as a shareholder. But in general, you have access to things like dividends, which I'll touch later, but just very simple. You're able to buy and trade via the stock market, and I'll touch a little bit here in a minute, but this is basically what summarizes the stocks. So why do companies issue stocks, right? So a lot of companies start issuing stocks at a point where they're trying to grow the actual company, right? So think of a local bookstore, right? Let's use Amazon as an example. Started as a small bookstore. Later on, as it started generating profit, you want to grow the company, right? And then you make it public by offering initial public offering, right? So at this point, the company becomes from private to public, right? And now this attracts a lot of investors. And if the company, if the investor understands what the company's about, right, their mission, they might, and if that aligns with what they want to invest in, then they can put their money in there, right? And now the company grows, right? And like I mentioned, typically these are purchased via the stock exchanges. The New York Stock Exchange is probably the most popular here in the US, and the NASDAQ as well. So for you, why should you buy stocks, right? Like I mentioned, you can help grow companies, right? So if you find a company that you feel aligns with your values, or maybe that's where you feel the future is going, right? And that company is doing work there, maybe you want to contribute that, right? Whether that's environmental or maybe electric vehicles and whatnot. That's one reason. Second is you're probably already a customer, right? So think of the things that you're wearing, right? Your shoes, what kind of car do you drive? What kind of streaming services do you watch, right? So most of them are companies and most of them are publicly traded, right? So if you're already using the products and you know that there's customers like you, right? And the company might do well, why not invest in them, right? Third one is that you can grow your own investments. So as an individual, a stock is an asset, right? And an asset, just like a house, it appreciates, right? So understanding that the stocks are assets that you can invest and then they can gain value, then, well, it only makes sense to invest in them. So that way your money can grow with those assets, right? And the fourth reason might be that some of these companies provide dividends, right? So a company has dividends, which is basically part of the revenue. They might give you a small percentage to shareholders, which is you, maybe every quarter or every year, as long as you have your stocks invested in there. And I'll touch on a little bit here next.